Hello.
We're back.
Yeah, we are.
We got some podcast.
We have some podcast. We do. Welcome back, Greg.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Yeah.
From.
We just haven't done one in a while.
I know. I know, because the last one went up not too long ago, but it was recorded long ago.
Yes.
That's the real issue.
Yes.
But you know what? Such is how it goes.
Yeah. C'est la vie, as they say.
Yeah. So this is the Fill in the Blank podcast.
Life after film school.
Episode 19.
That's right.
Almost episode 20.
Almost. I know, right? Can you believe it?
I do believe it.
Yeah, I do too.
I believe it.
I totally believe it.
So today
Feels
we've
like we should
got
be coming up on 30.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Today we've got our topic of the day, which is Westerns, which is one that has been a long time coming at this point.
Yes.
And then...
we have to do it, not just because we told you 2 months ago that we were going to do it.
And then we've got some segments that haven't been around for a while, little tech stuff and a little
classics of the cinema. Yeah.
So, let's... well, first of all, I got yelled at by this lady, and I just got...
What?
Something needs to be said.
Wait a minute. What happened?
Something must be said. I was just driving to go walk my dog.
Okay.
And...
driving to go walk your dog. Oh, I get it. Okay.
I pull up just at a signal.
Because your dog does not live with you.
Right.
I
pull up at a stoplight behind a lady on a little Vespa scooter.
Right. See, now when you briefly hinted at this story to me over the phone, and you said she was in a scooter, I was picturing like a fat person or a handicapped scooter.
Oh no!
And I was like, what was she doing in the middle of the road?
What's she doing in the street?
So
no, this is like a moped.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Legitimate road vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's in this.
A hairdryer on wheels.
And that's fine. And I am behind her, and then the light turns green, and we go, and she's going really slow because she's in a scooter. So I wait for a slot to open up in the lane next to me. I move over. I go around her. This all takes place over the course of about a mile. Like, I'm not, whipping around her.
Sure. She
says something as I drive by, but I just keep driving. I don't know who she's talking to in particular. So then I turn down the street, and she follows me, and I'm like, this lady's just going to follow me. So I pull over in front of a house that's not mine.
Bold lady on a scooter, huh?
I know. And I was thinking about this later, and I was like, well, why do you do that? Like there's people who die from doing that.
Right.
People roll up and yell at someone, and they just pull out a gun and shoot you in the face.
Or if you'd stop suddenly.
Right. Well, that's true, too. She could have run right into me. No, I mean, there's road rage, and there's you don't know who I am.
That's right.
Turns out I'm just going to sit there while you yell at me, which is what happens in a minute, but I could do something else.
Spoiler alert, guys.
No, so I pull over, and she pulls up next to me. I've got my windows down. I had the radio going.
Okay.
And I'm just getting stuff together to get out of the car, and she pulls up next to me and just immediately...
No, wait, did you pull up in front of your own house?
No, I pulled up in front of someone else's house.
Oh, okay, because I was like,
as soon as I realized she was following me, I mean, I was on the same street, but what does she know?
Right. I just wouldn't want anybody...
I know.
If a person is on a scooter and crazy enough to follow me, I don't want them to know where I live.
So I pull over, and she just starts yelling at me before she even stops her scooter.
Like curse word yelling at you?
Yeah, cursing, and I don't know. And apparently I have threatened her and disrespected her. And I'm those are just some of the words that are thrown into this incoherent rant. And I crept up behind her twice or something. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell you were talking about. I think you have the wrong car. I'm literally I'm just staring at her with this horribly confused look on my face. And I cannot get a word in. She won't stop yelling.
Not even
because all I want to say is I'm sorry. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
If I did something wrong, I'm sorry, but I have no clue what you're yelling about at this moment. Can you stop and clarify yourself?
It certainly wasn't a malicious act.
No. And so, she just yells for a good minute, tells me at some point in there that she's an officer of the law. And I'm like, obviously you're not.
Right.
Because you don't save that for the middle of your rant, number one. You don't call yourself an officer of the law, number two. And officers of the law don't randomly chase people into their neighborhood and yell at them for a minute.
No.
I'm pretty sure that they don't do that.
Well, even if they do, it's going to be more of a lecture.
I was like, what are you, a meter maid? Is that
right?
Is that your
it's
officer
something
of the
like
law?
that, right? She's the 911 operator.
She's a dispatch or something. Not even that.
Not even that. She's not cool and calm enough to handle.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, and then she just speeds off. I don't even get a chance to say anything, which really for me, she's won.
Well, yeah, because you didn't get to say anything.
That's all I want to do is just be like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Can I figure out what I did wrong here?
And you're kind of left with like this hanging.
You're left thinking about it now for the next hour, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry you had a bad day today, obviously.
Obviously.
I guess now I have to, too. So I'm like, I don't know so I'm thinking about it. I'm walking the dog. I'm just like, what?
I'm just picturing
what did I do?
I'm just picturing poor Greg walking his dog, talking about it, and then he's like quiet for about 45 minutes, and then all of a sudden he's just like in the middle of a field like, I'm sorry! Like, well, you don't even know what to do.
I know, because I genuinely feel bad, like, if I screw up on the road, like, you know, if I cut somebody off on accident or something, I really feel bad, and I feel, like, really guilty the rest of the drive.
Of course.
So I'm thinking, what have I done here?
Yeah, you're going over it.
I'm racking my brain going, I just drove like a normal human. So I'm thinking about it, and I realize I think this is what she's mad about.
Okay.
I'm at the signal that I stopped behind her. I stopped behind her at the normal distance you would stop behind a car.
Yeah.
And then a car I was in the right-hand lane, and a car wanted to turn right.
Oh, so they were creeping.
They're scooting up on the right to try and get around.
Right.
So you know how you do that thing where you kind of pull forward and turn your wheel to the left to let them through?
Yeah.
I did that. Like behind her, I scooted up like 4 feet, turning to the left so this guy could get by.
Okay. But that's not an act of terrorism.
No, but I got closer to her, and I think she that was what she was talking about when I creeped up on her twice because I was moving out of the way for a guy to turn right.
Oh, but
I still was never closer than like 8 feet from the back of her moped.
Oh, well,
like creeping up was not like it's not like I tapped her, but back tire.
It's probably, you did that, and then after that you passed her.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's like probably thinking you're that guy who wants to just get around.
No, I'm the guy who wants to go 40 when the speed limit's 40 instead of going 29.
I understand that.
Like
I understand that. But I think she's a crazy person.
Yeah.
Who is assuming that the world is out to get.
Yeah, except shouldn't it be a clue like when I go around you and you like give me a dirty look and I haven't even looked your direction and I'm just singing to a song, like shouldn't that be a clue that I have no like ill intentions towards you?
It's true,
the windows are down, I'm singing away, and
you
look over and yell at me, and I'm just like, I'm driving. Like,
no, because it's true. When you know you've done something, you always peek over there to see, are they looking at me? Do they know to?
And then during this rant, she's like, if you hit me, I'm on a scooter, you'll kill me. And I'm like, yeah, like, what do you think? I just go around driving around hitting people on scooters because it's fun? Like, because there's no consequences for that in California. You can just, like, I just target them because everyone knows that if you hit and kill a scooter person, like,
10 points.
No one doesn't. The cops just laugh and then give you a high five.
Yeah.
Like, there's no consequences for it. So, of course, that's what I was doing, lady. You caught me.
Right.
I was just going to run you over.
Right.
Like,
your insurance actually goes down.
Yeah. Yes. Like, I'm like, what world are you living in? And I guess, and then my conclusion was finally, you're too terrified to be able to drive.
That's what I'm saying, or at least drive a scooter.
Apparently, yeah. If you're that scared to drive a scooter that a car scooting up 2 feet behind you is like, and then that person then passes you because you're going 10 miles under the speed limit.
Right.
Like, and by the way, not whips around you, like leisurely, just gets in the other lane and happens to be going faster than you because that lane's going faster than you.
Right.
Like, that apparently is intimidation. I'm like, oh my God. You can take your pink vest and just go jump in a lake, lady.
She's wearing a pink vest?
Yeah, she had a pink reflective vest. She's an officer of the law.
I forgot.
Yeah. I was I just couldn't think about anything else the rest of the day because
I understand.
How did this happen?
It just hangs
I didn't even get to say, like, you're crazy.
That's what kills.
I'm just driving. Like, that's the worst part for me.
Yeah, that's what kills. That's what kills. And not being able to say anything back.
And my thing is this. Like, first of all, you shouldn't have yelled at me because what if I was some, like, murderer?
Right, and looking at you, that's not out of the question.
What? and then number two, like, who gets satisfaction out of that?
Well, the only reason she gets satisfaction is because you didn't get to say anything back.
Right. Well, that's my point. She knows
emotionally dump on you.
She must know then, though, that if I had gotten a word, she would feel horrible about it.
Yes, I think that's exactly what happened.
And I liked your idea after I briefly told you about this the other day, was I should have then just followed her around for a while. I was like, I wish I had because she would have freaked out.
Yes.
If I just followed her for like 2 blocks and then peeled off.
It would have been like a Hitchcock movie.
What if I'd like followed her for 2 blocks, peeled off, and then come back around and come behind her again? That would have really scared her. If she was like, oh, he left, and then I came back out. But I was just like, God, this is at like 3:00 on a Thursday. Really?
In the afternoon, you're saying?
Yeah, like really? Are we doing this right now?
Okay, well, I guess folks out there listening, if you've learned anything, it's watch out for Greg and his Prius.
Yeah, I know.
Because he is a
Driving my
menace.
Prius like a menace.
You know, I just thought of this too. You probably inch forward, and she looked back once, and you were 8 feet away.
Yeah.
And then she looked back next, but because you were driving a Prius, she didn't hear you creep up.
Yeah, probably
It was
didn't hear
silent.
me creep up.
I
You're
looked
right.
back, and you were closer.
Well, and people who drive Priuses are known intimidators on the road.
That's true.
Like, that's a stereotype that
It
we
really
all fight.
is. It is. And it's something you need to be aware of when you're driving around. Is those roving gangs of Prius drivers who, go around,
Revving their electric motor at
That's
people.
right. That's right. Challenging scooters to races. That's right.
Yeah, I was just like, God.
Right. So beware throwing their fresh and easy wrappers out the window. And stuff like that. So just beware that you have to fight that
Yeah,
stereotype.
I know. It's a tough one.
Wow.
Man.
All right. Well, I think I can.
Okay.
I can't really match that, but
Yeah.
it's along the same lines because it
Okay.
has to do with irrational fears.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'm in another show.
Yeah.
Now we're in the rehearsal.
You got sucked right into that.
I did.
You're like, I'm not going to be in another show.
That's right.
And then I was like, are you in the show now? And you're like, yeah.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what happened.
I'm in it.
Yep. I'm in it. All right. We're just doing a small. No.
No, I'm like one of the major roles.
Yeah. But either way, my role requires me to act. Act being the key word here.
Okay.
Like I'm in love with this girl.
Oh, yeah.
Now, as the longtime listener will know, I am a happily married man. I am also an actor.
Yeah.
So, I just want to preface this story by saying my wife is not involved in this story. Really,
Yeah.
she's also in the show
Yeah.
and understands what's
going
going on
on
here. She also has a guy that she marries in
In
the
the
show.
show. Okay.
So it's
All right.
not like
Fair is fair.
that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Now it's not my fault that the guy she's marrying is fairly homosexual,
Oh, okay.
and that the girl that I marry in the show
Uh-huh.
is quite attractive. I did not cast the show.
Yeah.
All right.
You weren't even going to play this role.
That's correct. So, life, the chances that you take with life.
Uh-huh.
Either way, we were working on our scene. We have this one romantic scene. It's kind of a Han and Leia scene.
Okay.
Where we fight with each other.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the scene, it's kind of like,
Yeah, it's like...
you like me because I'm a scoundrel.
Yeah.
That kind of scene.
Yeah.
Okay. So we work on it, and it's not very good. Like,
Right.
it's just not.
You're like,
You're like, nobody's gonna believe that.
Uh-huh.
So, jump forward to another rehearsal, okay? Because my point here is that trust in theater is big. It takes time for the two of
Yeah.
us to get to know each other
Yeah.
well enough, to trust each other well enough, to actually, put hands
Embrace
on each
or
other.
whatever,
Yeah,
yeah.
make it
Yeah.
sexy.
Make it realistic.
No, she is also a very happily married woman.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there's no stranger danger really
Yeah.
going on here. We're
Yeah.
both professionals.
Yeah.
Final side note, my mother's in the show.
Yeah.
This story involves her.
Oh, okay.
So we're having a good time. Now, I am not a good enough actor that just out of the blue, for no reason, I can make an audience believe that I am like Don Juan and
Right.
madly in love with this girl who I just met.
Who you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like an actor, I need to go and spend a little bit of time getting to know this girl, hanging out with her, making jokes with her.
Yeah.
So there's an obvious personal comfort in real life
Right.
that will then translate on stage. Either way, that's been going on for a little while. We practice our scenes, we rehearse our scenes. Let's just say it gets quite a bit sexier.
The show, your role in the show with her.
Yes,
Okay.
that scene.
Oh, that scene does.
It's
It's progressed.
Yes,
Okay.
it's progressed to the point where
Which
my fellow cast
I'm guessing
members-
is at the direction of the director.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where our fellow cast members were like, "Damn, that's kind of hot,"
Uh-huh.
which is what you want.
Yeah, that's the point.
Well, since then, my mom has continually not like anytime she sees me talking to this girl, she'll come and stand in between me and her and start talking to me about other
Whoa.
stuff. Like I'm gonna do something in real life.
Yeah.
And I she's not being really forthcoming about it, but I'll be talking to Melissa is this girl's name. I'll be talking to her and we'll be joking around so like that, and I'll turn and look over and my mom will be like,
And you're like, really?
"Yeah." I'm like, "What?"
What are you doing?
Now, there's two sides to this.
You need to go Christian Bale and be like, are you a professional?
Yes, that's one of the sides, which is like, "Mom, you know me." Now, to our listening audience, I want you to understand that anybody who knows me knows that, like, I am not the kind of guy who would do anything untoward.
Yes.
Especially with my wife
like
standing
right
there, sometimes even participating in the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay? Second of all, you would think my mom would know this.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure that if I went, Mom, what's the deal?
What's going on?
She'd be like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh. So that's...
I just noticed that she's been watching and standing in between me and her.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is why I don't do shows with people I know.
Yeah.
Because I've got to do what I've got to do.
You knew this before you got a role in this.
Yes.
So there you go. Now you have to lay in the bed that you made.
This is true.
Yeah.
No,
that's weird.
It's just weird. That's all I'm saying. If my wife is okay with
just
what's
look at her and be
going
like, no.
Well, you're a nice guy.
You're a nice guy. Yeah, you got to do Christian Bale.
I think I might have to try. I'll try that next time. Because I keep thinking to myself, you know that this is only going to get worse, right?
Yeah.
Like as we get closer to the show, it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
Because we haven't even done the scene where we kiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's going to get worse.
Yeah.
But I love my mom, and she's a good. This is why I think it surprises me, because she's not a bad actress. She really is good. She can sing, she can dance, she can act. But when it's her son, there's a point in the show in which I also get beat up.
Yeah.
And I can see in her face that she's like, I don't like this.
And you're like, it's fake.
But she doesn't like it because it still makes her think about it.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe I'll understand better when I have kids.
I guess, but if that's the point, but you're supposed to get past that as an actor. Like, that's part of acting, is that you can, right?
I think so.
Okay. I'm like, am I wrong about this?
No, I think you're right.
Pretend. Let's pretend.
Yeah. I better hope my mom doesn't listen to this podcast.
Yeah. Well, why? Then you might not have to say anything.
Oh, I'll have to say that.
Something will have to be said.
Something will have to be said.
Okay, let's... not a whole lot going on with the podcast, since not a whole lot of podcasts have been recorded lately.
Yeah.
But, we're at like 41 likes.
Yeah.
Like as we said, 50 is the contest.
Hopefully this little absence made the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
And people are just clamoring to
I
hear
hope
this
so, but I haven't seen any activity on Facebook. Will be another contest once we get to 50.
This podcast is gluten-free. Tell your friends.
Is it? I
It
just
is.
ate some gluten.
Yeah, but the podcast.
No, the podcast doesn't have any in it. That's true.
Yeah, they won't-
So we'll just give you the usual. You can catch it on Stitcher. It's on iTunes. Go ahead and review it if you like. Always the entire lineup of episodes will be on fillintheblankfilms.com and YouTube.
And YouTube, right.
Even though iTunes and Stitcher only show the last 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, just keep telling friends. Just keep spreading the word. That's all we're asking.
50 likes, new contest. That's what I'm
new
saying.
contest at 50. Okay, so let's get to our topic of the day here.
Boy, we got your topic today. Topic today to tell you.
All right.
Oh, all right, partner.
Westerns.
Westerns.
Well, they exist, and we
Smile when you say that.
smile when you smile for me. The thing I was thinking about Westerns the other day when I know you have some structure
That's
here,
okay.
but let me
it's
just
okay.
open.
Just go.
I was thinking about it because I was thinking
That's what
about
the West is about, Greg. Freedom.
Yeah, I was thinking about just what are we going to talk about, and I started thinking about, you know how we nowadays we get a Western every couple years. You get like one.
Sure.
And sometimes they're really good. Sometimes they're just like fine.
Yeah.
Nobody really makes bad ones anymore, but that's because I think it's hard to get one made.
Right.
But then I was thinking about like, what about like the ones that are Westerns but aren't set in the Wild West? And I think there's a lot of that going around.
Okay. How so?
Well, you've got like even not a movie example, but a show like Breaking Bad.
Oh, okay, yes, that is definitely
It's
Western.
a Western.
It is. It really is.
It fits all the...
Okay, so you would include things like the...
That's what I'm saying,
the
modern day...
machete and things like...
Yeah, like modern day things that fit the mold of a Western, even though the Wild West is not present.
Although I would argue that in Breaking Bad, the Wild West
It is
very present.
It is, but... God, I'll think of it later. But even some sci-fi movies.
Sure.
You could classify as Westerns.
There's elements of Star Wars that's a Western.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's...
And I'm wondering if they've transformed into that.
Well, let's get into
yeah.
that just a little bit. My structure was I wanted to start with, well, why do we like Westerns?
Yeah.
What is it about the Western that makes it made it at one time very popular?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. I think that despite the fact that the traditional Western is kind of out of vogue,
Yeah.
we just can't seem to let it seeps into other things.
Yeah, the themes and things from a Western.
Why do you think that is?
I think because that's American. Like, there's no other genre of movie.
That's what I think
that
too.
is purely American. I know you have your spaghetti westerns and stuff,
Right? But even
but
those
they're set
are,
in the Wild West of America.
right,
Like,
and they're kind of mythifying.
Yeah,
If I can make up a word, I think
it is made up, but yes,
Yeah.
you can.
Mythologizing. That's
That's
the
it.
word I was looking for.
That's the one.
An American thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we like Westerns, and I think that's why we can't let it go, is because it is my belief that Westerns are to American history
Yeah.
what, like, castles and knights are to European history.
Yeah, like
or
chivalry and stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
and samurais are to Japanese
Yeah.
history and stuff like that. And I freaking love that about them.
Yeah,
It is kind of our mythology, because
it is.
the Wild West, I don't think was ever really like the
But
West.
no,
as
but I
you
mean
see it
that's
in
also.
movies.
I mean, you can include
with
all
rare exceptions.
American folktales, which are basically American mythology.
Yeah.
that's all Western.
It really is.
Even if it's set in Tennessee, that was the West at the time. So it's keeping this.
Yes.
Even Last of the Mohicans, which is set in New York, is Western because it's the frontier. It's
frontier.
Yeah.
It really is a frontier category. It's not just.
It's like, oh my gosh, we don't know what's going to happen because we're
Right.
out in a wild place. And
Even Huckleberry Finn feels like a Western.
yeah, and it's interesting that you say that about like the chivalry type medieval King Arthur stuff as European. That's that's the theme. Whereas for us, the theme is wild and untamed and
Right, their theme is
it's
an order imposed upon the
completely
wildness.
different themes.
Yes,
but
totally
unique,
fits.
but unique to each area.
And it
Yeah.
totally fits the character, I think, of each
Yeah.
area as well, because the Western, like you said, really is
Yeah.
about the frontier. It's about expanding, finding your own place, being off in the wild, being
Yeah.
your own self, not.
Well, and that's and it's still interesting to me because even, I know we're getting off the subject of movies, but like just American culturally, like that's really, to me, the difference between like East Coast, West Coast. Like on the West Coast, you can drive out for 2 hours and be in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
And you can't do that on the East Coast.
Not
like there's
as well-
there's a
it's-
different mindset, it's not as wild.
It's not
It's
as
still
well.
wild here, even though it's completely
But it
settled.
can't be just because it's been settled for longer.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People were concentrated there, and it was when that place got full up that everybody went.
Well, and it's easier, it's more habitable. Like
Yes.
there's areas out here where you're never going to be settled. And that's a unique feature.
Yes. Also, since we're talking about the
Yeah.
characteristics of the American personality, so to speak, I would like to see this Western idea transfer itself into the space and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I do think that Americans, fairly uniquely, although
Like
I
a
think
manifest
it's a human,
destinies type situation.
Yeah, and I'm not. I think everybody feels that way because obviously the Americans came from somewhere.
Yeah.
And there were people there in the old world from all over,
Yeah.
depending on where they came from, who felt, I'm moving forward. I want to have a frontier. I want to.
Yeah.
So I do think that's part of the human characteristic. But America is a nation made up of all the people who felt like that.
Yeah.
So we as a nation have a very strong feeling of wanting a frontier.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see that continue on.
Yeah. Well,
And-
space is the final frontier.
Exactly. Exactly. So I do think that's why.
I think for me, the other major theme is vigilante justice, which is another very American, not uniquely American, but very American
it is
thing.
It is. It's
for
kind
good
of
or bad.
yeah. It's
But that's another major. Almost every Western has an aspect of that.
because Americans like the anti-hero.
Yeah.
Americans like the hero who's willing to do whatever it takes.
He's going to
get
do
the
what's
job.
right, regardless of what stands in his way, be that the law or
What he
whatever.
sees is right.
What he sees is right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why, and we'll get to this later.
Yeah.
A Western like Unforgiven.
Yeah.
is a nice commentary.
Exactly.
Either way, the reason I think that people like Westerns in America and probably other places around the world is because it does represent a uniquely American perspective.
Yeah.
This is the same reason why, being someone who enjoys like English history, I love the stories of King Arthur and stuff like that. I didn't grow up in England, but I love those stories because to me they represent it's uniquely English or Western European. So I think that's why we like Westerns. But then that next raises the question, which you already touched on and actually had an interesting perspective on, is why don't you see as many Westerns nowadays? And you're saying
I'm suggesting that potentially we're seeing just as many. It's just they're not in the Wild West. Because when you got to realize that I was thinking about this too, when the heyday of Westerns, which is like the 30s, 40s,
50s, 60s, early 60s.
The Wild West that they're portraying is like the early 1900s. It's not that. People can remember it. Like there's people who are in those Westerns who lived and are like, okay, this is just what I do. Like some of those ones in the 30s, they're not that. I mean, they set them in like 1898. But
they still have Civil War veterans who are
the
around.
Existence is the same. And the West, most of the Wild West stuff is really the early 1900s, more so than it is like the 1860s and 1850s.
And the other side I'll say to that is they did not have the concern of needing to be politically correct.
No, not back in those ones. No.
Which, I don't want to say unfortunately because it makes me sound like a bad person, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Well,
unfortunately, if you make a Western nowadays, you have to be politically correct.
Well, it's interesting because you can't make a Western where the bad guys are the Indians.
No.
You have to be, it's a bad white guy who's stealing the gold or hijacking the train.
Right.
So I think it just limits you in that sense. On the other hand, I don't like necessarily portraying the Indians as bad because
I don't either, right.
They're just like, hey, what are you doing?
Right. Because they're not.
We've been living here for thousands and thousands of years. Get out.
Right.
So they weren't bad, but
and they weren't even like get out. They're like, we can share, and we're like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
But so I totally understand that. But I do think that once you do that,
there's no savagery anymore. Like that is not an angle that you can take.
Right.
Which I completely am like, I don't know that I would make a movie like that either. I
wouldn't either.
But I do think that it is a major difference.
And I do think that for that mainstream American culture, once you added the political correctness to it, some of that fantasy element of it left.
Yeah.
Because it was no longer like you were taming the wild spirit; it was like you were stealing land.
Yeah.
So for the mainstream, it would be like, oh, we're doing King Arthur, but it turns out that he was just a raping and pillaging.
He was just one of a number of kings in the area.
Right, right. and he did moderately as well as anybody else.
Yeah.
And once you take the fantasy out of it, I do think. Now, I am not obviously a proponent of keeping the fantasy at the expense of unfairly categorizing a whole race of people.
Yes.
But I'm simply trying to scientifically look at why.
There's a difference.
Yes, there's a difference. But now we can move forward.
Yeah.
Do the same thing. We just put aliens in there.
That was a bad movie though. Cowboys and Aliens was not good.
Oh no! But I don't want the cowboys and the aliens.
Okay.
I'm just saying, you do a Western.
Yeah.
In which the aliens can be the savages.
Oh, okay.
Because no one cares about them.
Let's talk about some Westerns.
Well, that was going to be my final thing. Was as a fan of because I think you are a fan of the Western.
Yeah.
I am a fan of the Western in all its forms, and I like what you had to say about how it's kind of transforming. We're keeping Western themes.
We're keeping the themes. They're just putting them in. I mean, here's a perfect example: a Looper.
Okay.
That's a high concept sci-fi. It's like an indie film, but that's completely. I mean, it feels like a Western. There's shots that are very Western in that movie. And so
we're just taking the mythology.
I think we're just moving it elsewhere, and
right.
You can reuse those themes, obviously.
Much like everything else, it's American.
Yeah,
we'll just take what we want and move it somewhere else.
Yeah,
we'll reinvent it. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so now as a fan of the Western, I'm a fan of the Western. What would you say are some recommended Westerns?
Well, you've got your John Ford films.
Sure.
Like your Stagecoach is kind of like the quintessential kind of.
Right.
And if you want to talk politically incorrect.
Oh, yeah. But entertaining.
And then, there's all those there's all the John Wayne movies.
Well, you have a million Westerns to choose from.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. You've got,
if I was going to choose one of
your Clint Eastwoods.
Yeah, if I was going to choose old school, we're talking old school.
Yeah, let's talk old school. We can get into the more modern ones.
Well, because there's three categories as far as I'm concerned. There's really old school, there's mid school, which is like Clint Eastwood spaghetti western.
Right. You've got like your black and white like Stagecoach.
Right, old fashioned. You got your middle ones and then your modern ones.
Yeah. Okay.
So old fashioned, I highly recommend Rio Bravo. It's a John Wayne western. Fantastic. And it's got Walter Brennan. You can't go wrong. He's a western staple.
Yeah.
Nobody tells me nothing anymore.
Yeah.
So you got to have him. Also, How the West Was Won.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good one. I'm sure I'm forgetting something great, but those would be two of the old school ones that I would recommend. The Searchers, I have to say.
The Searchers, obviously. Yeah.
I went to film school, and I signed a contract before I left saying that if anybody ever asked me about westerns, I will have to say The Searchers.
Yeah.
Although I will say, first, mildly politically correct / incorrect western.
Yeah.
So, if you can believe that Jeffrey Hunter is half Indian, which I can't.
Yeah.
Moving into the mid school, obviously you have
you've got
the trilogy.
Your Good, Bad, the Ugly, that trilogy.
Right. Fistful of Dollars, a few dollars more.
Mm-hmm. And then you've got your other, like so there's more John Wayne in that period. That's where you've got like your
True Grits.
Your True Grits and your other what's that, Hondo and
there's the Shootist.
The Shootist
is very, very good. And actually a surprisingly good one. One of John Wayne's best movies ever made, because I'm not a huge John Wayne fan. He really depends for me on the director, whether they just let him be John Wayne or whether they The Cowboys.
Okay,
it's John Wayne and a bunch of kids, and he's basically, I'm John Wayne, and they're a bunch of kids, and it's what the story you imagine it's going to happen here, but it's really well done.
I've not seen that one. Huh.
Definitely check out The Cowboys. One of my favorite John Wayne movies of all time, right up there with Rio Bravo.
Yeah.
And El Dorado. If you're not a fan of Rio Bravo, watch El Dorado. It's the exact same movie, but with a different cast.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding.
But see, even with and Clint Eastwood is kind of where it starts, because you've got like Dirty Harry. That's just a western.
It really is.
I mean, it just takes place in the 70s, modern for the time it was shot. But
He's
it is
just pulling a pistol on people. And,
Then you've got like your more recent ones, which I would say kind of started with like Unforgiven.
Yeah, and I would even count Last of the Mohicans.
Last of the Mohicans counts.
I do. I would agree.
Although
with
that's more of just, it's not a really, it's a book, but it is a western.
Right, but I'm just saying
it is western literature. That is what that is.
Yes.
Yes,
I would definitely include it.
Unforgiven's probably my favorite of all time.
Western of all time?
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I like Unforgiven quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just because it kind of takes all those classic Western themes and then examines them under a more realistic light.
Yeah.
I would have to throw my favorite one of the modern era in there is probably Dances with Wolves.
Okay. I like Open Range better if you're going with Costner.
Oh, I do love Open Range. Great, one of the best gunfights in.
That's like, that one's quietly one of the best westerns.
I agree.
Around.
I would agree with you. I'm just saying the music, the cinematography, the story of Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
And I think it was also like, whoa, Kevin Costner did this when it happened.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
That's a good one. And then you've got like,
and if you want an old fashioned modern one,
well, that's true.
Tombstone.
Oh, Tombstone's fantastic.
Don't
Tombstone. I don't know. Tombstone and Unforgiven. That's a tough call there. I forgot about Tombstone.
But Tombstone's definitely an old fashioned. Yeah. Oh, and I must give some props to. I should say my favorite modern western.
Okay.
I shouldn't say Dancing with Wolves.
Or Silverado.
Yes.
Is that what you're gonna say? Yes. I knew it.
Yes, it's Silverado, because
that's a comedy western.
Yeah, it's just like we're doing the old-fashioned western thing,
and we put everyone in it.
And we put
everyone who's an actor in this movie in like the late '90s, like they're in this.
Yeah, early '80s.
Early '80s. Is it early '80s?
Yeah, it is, because it was Lawrence Kasdan coming off his success with like the Indiana Jones.
I didn't
movies.
know. I thought it was maybe early '90s. I didn't know it was early '80s.
No, it was like early '80s, and everybody was in that.
Yeah,
and it's just good.
It's a fun one.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
Tombstone.
But Tombstone.
Yeah.
Well, right.
That's good. That's one of those ones. Yeah.
See it if only for Val Kilmer.
But
no,
everybody's Kurt Russell's good too.
Kurt Russell's so good in that.
Yeah. Then there's the interesting thing is I think Open Range is the most recent one to come out that I was like, that's up there.
I don't know. I did like the new True Grit.
Oh, I was gonna. That's the other one I was trying to think of. Yes, the new True. Oh, and see, that's a perfect example of a modern not that one's an actual western, but also by the Coen Brothers, No Country for Old Men.
Yes,
that's a pure western.
That is.
There's just cars in it.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely true.
Like that's what I'm saying.
And
like we're seeing that.
Plenty of other.
I mean, you could even potentially maybe even classify There Will Be Blood.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I would say so. There's even aspects of The Matrix that are Western.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So actually, let's make that our as a final note here.
Yeah.
Let's make that our Facebook topic of the well, I'm not gonna say the week, but of this session is what is your favorite non-Western Western?
Yeah.
Just to maybe make us think of some of the ones we haven't thought of, because you're right. There's a ton of them out there that nowadays are Westerns, but they're just not set.
There's no horses.
Right. And I would also have to say one of the best Western stories I've seen modern day was actually in a video game. Red Dead Redemption, I thought, was a fantastic Western.
Yep.
Set. But that one, once again, was like 1912 or so. It wasn't even like...
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was about the changeover from the Old West.
And if we're talking about non-movies, then I have to mention Hell on Wheels, which is on AMC, which is this last season, which ends this weekend, has been fantastic. The second season of that show, I was like, I don't know if I can watch this anymore. It makes no sense. And this third season, they've completely redeemed themselves, and it's like one of my favorite shows. Because they just purely embraced, just like, this one's all about settlers not wanting to give up their land. This one, a plague strikes. Like, you're just like, yep, this is fantastic. Each one of these is a miniature Western movie.
Nice.
So, all right, well, let's leave it.
Well, no, I have one last one to mention,
more thing.
And this is the last thing we'll say, and then we'll move on to our last one.
Okay.
A Western everybody should go check out if you haven't already. The Adventures of Tex and Diego.
That's right. It made someone cry recently.
That's what we heard.
That's what someone on YouTube said.
That's what they said. So check it out, folks.
That's right. Okay, tech stuff.
Tech stuff.
You're wondering who I am.
Tech stuff. He's got some tech stuff.
Software or brand new camp.
Tech stuff. He's got some tech stuff.
With things to tell you all.
Tech stuff. He's got some tech stuff.
You're in the tech stuff hole.
Tech stuff. It's back. It's been gone for. I know. Haven't even heard that in forever, right?
It's probably a good thing.
What?
I love it.
Oh,
it was nice to hear it again after all that time.
You don't like it. All right. Well, I had a couple of things that I came up with to talk about for tech stuff, but the kind of I'll quickly because back in the day when we were near NAB in April, I talked about that Blackmagic camera.
Yes.
Finally out, and the reviews are in on that.
Okay.
And the reviews are much similar to its predecessor camera, which is, wow, it makes really good images, but it kind of fights you to do it.
Oh.
Like, there's no audio meter still. There's no amp on the audio, so basically it's useless for recording decent audio.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're left with just real low-level sound. And I guess, though, the nice thing is that it's an active lens mount so that you can actually have powered lenses, unlike its other friend. So still a great camera for $1,000, but I guess, you're not spending $1,000. You're spending about $2,500 because you've got to kit it out with the necessaries.
And you still got a wish list that went unanswered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was just the update on that. I wanted to talk about as far as if you're out there editing stuff.
Okay.
Using templates. And I wanted to see where you come in on this. Because obviously all the editing software, they come with templates. There's your After Effects and your Motion and things like that all come with templates. I feel like I had a stigma against templates, and I'm getting over it.
Okay, here's where I come down on this.
Okay.
When it comes to just straight editing footage,
yeah,
I never use a template.
Right.
When it comes to making a graphic,
but I'm talking about we're gonna need motion graphic-y type stuff.
I use templates occasionally.
Okay.
It depends on. So a lot of times, what I do is I scroll through the templates. If I see something that looks like what I wanted to do in my head, then I will take that and now fix it until it looks kind of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I will say, when it comes to large-scale photo montages,
the Ken Burns effect, you got to use that.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it's too much work to do it by hand.
12 hours of work.
Yeah. So, I think that until recently, I was completely if I use a template, everyone's gonna know that it was just a template, and it's gonna look stupid. And yeah, I would do some of let me alter the template slightly. Let me take the elements it started with and then mess with them, change the color, move it around a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, where I've settled in on. That's how we really should use these. And then I've recently been turned on to a couple websites that you can download the templates for the different software programs for at a reasonable price, like $8-9 per template, and it's not like a pre-done thing. You can then get in there and F with it all.
Right.
So, and that's, I think, invaluable. I'm just like, why would I could spend hours and hours building this, or I could find one that's very close to what I want
and fix it up till
and just go
what you
tweak
want.
it. And I think I used to feel like that's cheating, and I think I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah, I guess I'm lazy enough that I never felt like it was cheating, especially when it comes to graphics and things like that. Simply because I am not as good at that as you are.
Yeah.
So the closer I could get to start with, the more confident I felt that I could get it to where I felt it should be in the end.
Right.
Versus, I know you built stuff from the ground up that I was like, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
I could do that, but it would take me so long that I said I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. I did find that even just perusing the templates, I would see stuff that I was like, holy crap, how did they do that? And it made me want to download the template just to see what's going on under the hood. Because there's an effect in there, or there's something going on in there that I want to use. I don't like their template for what I'm using, but there's an effect or something they've done that I want.
Yes.
And so so I think it's a useful learning tool if you're not you haven't taken 7 training courses on this software.
And I would say that because I was more willing to use templates from the get-go, I learned a lot. Because I saw
you get in there and see how they made this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there has been a few occasions since then where I was like, well, I know what I want to do. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And I know what effects will make that happen. But I wouldn't have known that.
Right.
If I hadn't already used the templates.
Right.
To show me what that trick was.
Correct. I'll throw out the couple of template websites that I've recently gotten into. Video Hive. And then they also have Audio Jungle, which is
that these are both .coms?
Yeah, these are both .coms. Audio Jungle is an affiliated site that's royalty-free music. It's reasonably priced. Video Hive is stock footage and templates, and they have motion, After Effects, whatever you like. Really good stuff on there at a reasonable price, like at a price where you're like, I'll tack the $8 on. My client's not gonna. It's not gonna be an issue for you to tack on the $8 or $20.
Sure, right.
$8 to $20 that it is. No one's gonna freak out that you spent that to make their piece better.
Right. They won't even know.
But you can watch those and get ideas if you just want to build your own. If you're an anti-template person like I used to be, or take them and like we've been saying it, which I think is probably the recommended way I would say to use them, which is to alter them. Alter them up. Or take pieces from one and put them in the other. Like it's just a matter of like the desired effect. Like, and sometimes you didn't know that it was even possible in that software, and you see it and you go, I want to know how I did this. Let me break open their template.
Well, I do understand why you would feel a little bit like that's cheating.
Yeah.
And I think, if I may hypothesize for a moment, it's because we come from a time period when there was like civilian software.
Yeah.
And professional software.
Yeah.
And civilian software, like, I don't mean to throw anybody under the bus here, but like an iMovie or something like that.
Yeah.
Full of templates, and you'd see normal people throw stuff in templates.
You'd see them all over the place.
And be like, I'm done. And you're like, no,
that's horrible.
That's horrible.
Yeah. It has that, it's gotten that, you're right, and I think that's why. I think it's that feeling that everybody who uses that's a good term, civilian software, just always throws everything in a template.
Right.
So when we see templates in the professional software, we're like, oh, gross.
It either looks like you don't know what you're doing, or it looks lazy.
Yeah.
Which is why even when I use templates, I never thought about it this way, but I never used a template without changing stuff around because I didn't want someone to know.
Because you didn't want to be like, that's that template.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that maybe the lines are being blurred a little bit now.
Well,
they are, especially with the software.
Yeah, because they're just releasing one software now, which is usable from professional to civilian, and they're not creating separate.
Yeah. So anyways, I don't know. I just was thinking about templates, and so I thought it'd be interesting to talk about. The last thing I wanted to throw out there is for people who are just looking for interesting equipment and things, Kickstarter has a lot of fun film type stuff on there that people are trying to kickstart. Lots of like Steadicam type devices or cameras on wires like fly cams.
Oh, okay, yeah. Like they use the football games?
Yeah, little miniature jibs. Like all sorts of stop motion things where you can do like pans and dollies, stop motion.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, if you're like looking for gear that maybe you want to get you don't want to spend thousands and thousands on the established one. Kickstarter's kind of a cool place to find some really cool little rigs for like your GoPros or your DSLRs or medium-sized to small-sized cameras. Really interesting rigs. Now, I mean, there's some that are, here, if you want to kickstart this and get one, it's $4,000.
Oh, yeah.
But there's some where it's $15-$20. We'll give you this little doohickey that might do something cool with your camera, or $100, $150, $200, reasonable.
Right.
Because they're just trying to get it off the ground. Really cool place. So go check that out. I'm not going to throw any individual ones out there because obviously Kickstarter changes what's on there all the time.
Right.
But
I do have to say that there's
look.
Kickstarter, and there's another one too.
Indiegogo's one, and then Fund Anything.
Right.
Yeah.
I am a big fan of these.
I like it.
Crowdsourcing websites.
Yeah. I like Kickstarter's got pros and cons. The pros are that you're less likely to get screwed as an investor,
right,
than any of the other sites. But the cons are that it's
you're
very curated. They won't let you in unless they like you.
Right, and also unless you're able to raise your money, if you're off by $1,
they don't get it. Yeah,
which I kind of feel bad. And I think, what is it? Fund.
The other two, they just take whatever they raise.
Right,
and they have the goals, but because of that, I feel like it's less.
It's more possible to
get ripped off. But I think most people have a good intentions with it, and it's easy once you read through their post to vet it.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem good. So, all right. So that's a little tech stuff.
Interesting. I liked it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's do something else.
Wow.
Classics of the cinema.
Wow, I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, I know. Classics of the cinema. What's a classic?
Classics of the cinema. Halloween.
Oh, it's October, guys.
It is October. We're giving you a scary movie.
Okay.
Classics of the cinema. Scary.
There might be two of these. We might get another one in before Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's October, so I'm starting early.
Yeah. No, go for it.
Okay.
I'm like, this is great.
Okay. Well, you didn't seem like that.
Oh, okay.
You didn't seem supportive.
No, I am.
All right. Well, the movie we're talking about today, 1963's The Haunting, directed by Robert Wise.
Okay.
Storied
director.
Yes, of course. Obviously, he's directed many other things, like the Day the Earth Stood Still,
Sound of Music,
Star
Trek: The Motion Picture, West Side Story.
That's right. So I mean, no slouch.
Yeah,
we're talking here.
Yeah,
one of the great directors. It's written a screenplay is written by Nelson Giddig, based on the book, which is one of my all-time favorite books, scary or not scary, just one of my The Haunting of Hill House.
Oh yes.
That's what this is based on, and it's a ghost story movie. It's a haunted house movie. You don't see very many good ones of these. That's the imperative word.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
There's very, very few, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the ghost story, as you well know.
Yes.
There's maybe 5 at the most good, like truly non-gory, scary movies. Like what I'm excluding is like slasher movies.
Yeah.
Torture porn.
Yeah.
In terms of being supernatural thrillers, very, very few of those. The Haunting is one of the best, and I'd say probably the most classic example of just a straight haunted house, ghosts in the house type of movie. It was this movie that Walt Disney saw that made him decide we should do that at our park. Basically, they gave him the idea for the Haunted Mansion. Mm-hmm. So, starring in this movie, you have Julie Harris, who actually just recently passed away.
Okay.
Claire Bloom, also from West Side Story, Russ Tamblyn. He plays Riff in West Side Story, and Richard Johnson. And there are other small, but really it's just these 4 people in the haunted house.
Yeah.
And the setup to this movie sounds cheesy, but that's only because this is the movie that gave us this convention.
Okay.
4 people decide to do supernatural scientific exploration.
Okay.
They're trying to explain the phenomenon of the house.
Yeah,
as not
a ghost.
Right.
Yeah.
And each of them has their own reason for doing it. One of them's doing it because they think that by trying to prove it scientifically, it will prove that you can't prove it scientifically, and therefore will prove that there is supernatural.
Okay.
The doctor, played by Richard Johnson, feels that
there's no such thing as supernatural.
Right. He's going to prove it scientific. Yeah. Julie Harris just has a childhood of experiences with unexplained phenomena, so they're bringing her as kind of, I don't want to say bait, but kind of.
Yeah.
And you have Russ Tamblyn playing basically the nephew of the owner of the house.
Oh, okay. Who's commissioned this to happen or whatever?
Well, he hasn't commissioned it, but he has to go along because the family won't let
in the house. Yeah.
Right, without. Okay. And he's of course saying we should just not even be going here.
It's an awful place.
It's an awful place. Okay. And you get the whole setup of the history of the house, how horrible things have happened here and stuff like that. But it's definitely one of those things where it's knocking on doors, you hear them, distant sounds, doors opening and closing. You never really, you never see a ghost per se.
Okay.
But it's
creepy.
That constant ratcheting up of the tension the whole time of, is this really happening? Is it in my mind? And they take you on that question. They ride that question literally to the last moments of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to spoil if you haven't seen it. Go see it. And I bring this up as a classic of the cinema. Sometimes my classics of the cinema are things that sometimes you might feel, well, everybody should have seen this.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about this movie, but I'm also aware that
there's a lot of people who haven't.
There's a lot of people
who
haven't.
I haven't seen it.
Right. Well, I have it on DVD. You should
okay,
borrow
good.
It. Yeah. It's a classic horror movie. It's for ghost movies what Night of the Living Dead is.
Okay.
It's one of those seminal.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize how much it's influenced your perception of ghost movies.
Yeah.
Until you see it. It's one of those movies where if you're not prepared and you just see it, you'd be like, well, that was like the cheesiest thing I've ever seen. But it's not, because
it was the first.
It was the first.
Yeah.
So there is that historical context you kind of have to.
Yeah.
And if you like the movie, definitely go read the book, which is even creepier and has the single best opening paragraph maybe of any book ever.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Go check it out. Opening paragraph.
Okay.
Of
House on Haunted
Hill. Well, I'll just tell you, it opens like this. No organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. Even larks and katydids are supposed by some to dream. Hill House, not sane, stood by itself against its hills, holding darkness within. It had stood for 80 years, and might stand for 80 more. Within, walls continued upright, bricks met neatly, floors were firm, and doors were sensibly shut. Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there, walked alone. So that's just how it opens. It sets everything up so well. So yeah, go check out.
Awesome.
And do not confuse this with the more recent one, directed by Jan de Bont, starring Lily Taylor and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Yes, that's not
Liam Neeson. You would think with those three names that I just told you, you'd be like, well, that should be a good movie, and it's not
good. It's not good.
It's not. It falls into all the claptrap where billowy, cloudy ghosts show up at the end.
Yeah, no.
It's just
it's bad.
The music's good though. From that one. But if you're gonna see a haunted house movie, go see that one. And if you're not gonna see that one, like the only other good one is either Poltergeist or Insidious. Like that's all you have. There's just not that many good ghost stories.
Yeah, that's true.
In terms of the movies.
That's true.
So
all right, that's a good classic. Everyone should do that. It's the season. Tis the season.
For
watching that.
Absolutely.
Very nice. Okay, so that about does it.
Yep.
That's about all we got. So we'll give you our usual plugs here.
And what's our topic next?
Oh, next week, episode 20. So it's going to be a spectacular.
Yes, it is.
And I think the season merits that it be a horror film spectacular.
A horror spectacular.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. So that's going to happen. As always, iTunes, review us, like us on Facebook at facebook.com/FITB Podcast.
Go view the video enhanced podcast on youtube.com/FITB Films.
And then everything's always on the website, fillinthablankfilms.com.
Yep.
And then you've got your Twitters, which nobody uses or goes on, but mine's GPL Films.
Mine's AustineJD14.
See you next time.